Okay, so this video is just going to go a little bit more into what Kurzweil is saying, just because it's very interesting. Let me get out the book, actually, because there's a lot to mention. Okay, so I think he has a little bit of a. This is the book, by the way. I think he has a little bit of an explanation as the years go by. Yep, here we go. So I guess since it's 2009, we can discuss what he said. This book came out in 1999. He made a new book, basically an update, much larger, much more in-depth, called, I think it's just called The Singularity. So his theme is that technology is the next step in evolution, and we're sort of what water was to fish, or what we are to technology. We're like the ocean of technology, I guess you could say, the breeding ground of technology, which the first organisms will arise. And we're doing this through intent, I guess you could say. We're consciously doing this. We're consciously trying to create inorganic life forms and intelligent life through computers, artificial intelligence. But it raises some particular interesting questions. If what we're doing is just a part of evolution, just a part of our natural, perhaps us being able to make tools and technology is an evolutionary trait that, say, a modernist 300 years ago, or 200, or even at the turn of the century would say, no, we've stepped out of nature. We are able to think rationally. But perhaps reason itself, and we know this from an evolutionary perspective at least, on a very basic level, is a product of evolution with a specific purpose. And perhaps that purpose, if becoming more complex is indeed a aspect of evolution, is what we have reason for, and when we have the ability to invent technology. Perhaps this is our part to play, interestingly enough. That's theoretical, of course. There needs to be more evidence for that, but that's an interesting question. I think it's a pretty interesting stance to take about evolution. But at any rate, in 1999, now this is 10 years ago, let's see if he got this right, he said a $1,000 computer can perform about 1 trillion calculations per second. Can it do that? It probably can. I don't know. I don't know enough about this. I know how many, gigs in the RAM computers have, but I don't know how that processes into what he's saying. Anyway, personal computers with high resolution visual displays come in a range of sizes, from those enough to be embedded in clothing and jewelry up to the size of a thin book. I think he's a little bit ahead of his time. We've only been able to just develop technology, computer screens that are literally about this thin, and yes, they're very interesting. They can sort of do this, but they're not available for the market. I saw an article that came out in 2008, I think this fall, that actually was talking about this sort of thing, and how in a few years it'll be available. So I think Kurzweil, a little bit too much of an optimist, projects things happening a little bit faster than they actually have. But it doesn't mean he's entirely wrong, because this technology does exist. It's just not easy to get. I guess you could say we have flat screen TVs now. We have a lot of them. We have flat screen computer screens. They come in a range of sizes, but they're not paper thin at a massive level. And here's the other thing: technology embedded everywhere. Not so much yet. I mean, you can say cell phones are like that. You can say maybe Bluetooth is like that. iPods are basically MIDI computers. So we're getting there, but I wouldn't say that we're at that level yet. I think he's a few years ahead. Here's another one. Cables are disappearing. Remember, this is 1999. High-res communication between components uses short-distance wireless technology. High-speed wireless communication provides access to the web. He's right about this. Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, all that. I mean, I'm not even connected to a cable right now on this computer. I have one to plug in, but Intel just developed a wireless power, a wireless way for computers to get power. Amazing. I mean, sure, you could. I think, interestingly enough, what's his name? Famous inventor. Anyway, this was developed at the turn of the century too, but it was much more, I guess you could say, primitive. maybe not. We never really played with the idea about AC/DC and all that stuff. But at any rate, we now have the ability to do this, and maybe in a couple years, you're going to start getting wireless power. Um, that'll be great, actually. Having all these wires is very annoying, and it's starting to get in the way. I mean, I'm just considering a lot of people already have it, but Bluetooth is an example. Um, Majority of text is created using continuous speech recognition. That hasn't happened yet. But I've seen Kurzweil actually demonstrate this video where he's talking, and he's talking as detailed as I'm talking right now, and the computer's getting it all down and perfectly and able to translate it. So this, I guess you could say, might be coming up in a few years. Again, he's a few years ahead of his time. Most routine business transactions take place on human and virtual personality. Often the virtual personality includes an animated visual presence. Looks like human face. I don't know what he's talking about here. We don't use that. We use, I don't know, videos embedded on computer screens, internet. We don't really have that sort of visual interface. We have a visual interface, but we didn't need a person for it. You know, if you shop on Amazon, there's no like little person pretending to be a cashier. I think he was a little wrong about that too. Although traditional classroom organization is still common, intelligent courseware has emerged as a common means of learning. This is true. I'm at a university right now. We use email, we use servers, all this stuff to get our information. We have something called eRes at Fordham, where you basically you go onto the website, and all of the class material is on in your class. You look up your professor, you look up the class, you click the class, you access all the data, and usually all of our work is assigned there and then in textbooks. Some classes we've had no use for textbooks. Maybe we just bought one or two, like, you know, in sociology we had to buy marks, but most of our work is all online in PDF form. Okay, what else did he say about 99? Pocket-sized reading machines. Yeah. Let's see. Translating telephones. Maybe a little bit. Again, with the whole translation thing, voice, the stuff that he was talking about before, that's not happening just yet. There's not a market for it yet, but I think in a couple of years we're going to definitely see that. Accelerating, the law of accelerating returns, which is basically the rate at which technology is rapidly getting better and better, from advanced computer technology have resulted in continued economic expansion. Whew! I don't think he anticipated political and economic issues. He's saying, in a perfect culture, we're going in this direction, this is going to happen at this time. Maybe Kurzweil would be right if we didn't have an economic depression, if we didn't invade Iraq, if there aren't a lot of issues that are going on. I mean, things aren't so simplistic, and you can criticize Kurzweil for thinking it was, but his overall ideas aren't things that aren't too objectionable. They don't have too many loopholes in them. They're answerable, and he may have been a little bit off as far as his years go, but he seems to be on the money. Bioengineered treatments for cancer and heart disease have greatly reduced the mortality of the diseases. Unfortunately, that's not happening quite yet, but we're exploring new forms of nanotechnology to attack cancer cells. And right now we're able to start regrowing organs in petri dishes, which is amazing. If you have, I don't know, prostate cancer, will grow you a new prostate. I mean, think of the implications of this. Think how far this can go. Anyway, so he skips 10 years ahead now, 2019, from 2009 to 2019. Computers are now largely invisible and embedded everywhere. Walls, tables, chairs, desks, jewelry. I don't know, maybe. Maybe it'll be, once again, a few years behind, or perhaps an explosion of technology after 2009 will happen in a couple of years, maybe, and we'll get here. I don't know. It's too early to tell, but I can say roughly we're probably around there. We're at least up to, in 2019, I'm sure we're going to have technology everywhere embedded in everything. I mean, they already are developing those computer screens that are paper thin, so you'll be able to wear Facebook on your clothing. I mean, that's going to be happening in a couple of years. It'll be possible in a couple of years to do that. Perhaps not cheaply, but no more expensive than a PS3 or an iPod Touch. So, okay, in a couple of years. Nano-engineered machines are beginning to be applied to manufacturing and process control applications. I'm sure they will. More interaction with computing is through gestures and two-way natural language spoken communication. Gestures. I don't know. That goes into a broader topic, saying the internet is getting more and more based on natural for us to use and easier. And I'll continue in part 3. for.